And just so everyone
Wonderful.
knows, we have with us Kyle. Is it Niess?
Yes, nice.
Kyle
Opposite of me.
Niess and Gwen Butler with Odney. They're going to talk about partly about the merger with KK Bold, but also other things that relate to the industry. So go ahead, Kyle.
Perfect. Thank you very much. But ladies first, I will turn it over to you, Gwen.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm Gwen Butler, the Vice President of Account Services here at Odney and also a partner at the agency with Kyle, Shane Gettle, and Don Larson. I have been with Odney for more than 10 years or almost 10 years and have been in the marketing space my entire career, which is a long time. So I won't give you that number. I have clients that I lead and manage as well as managing the account staff here at Odney.
Wonderful. My name is the introduction from Jill. Kyle Niess, Vice President of Business Development here at Odney. I as well am one of the partners along with Gwen, Don, and Shane. I have been in the marketing advertising industry for a little over 18 years. I've been at Odney here since 2014, so really about 6 months less than Gwen, so almost 10 years. I have a client roster that I handle day-to-day activities. Basically the liaison as an account services individual between them and the rest of the agency, and then do lead all of our new business development efforts here at the agency.
All right, for those of you, I know that some of you are more familiar with Odney than others, but for those of you who are not, our agency was established in 1985. We have grown to an agency of more than 40 team members. Kyle, if you want to shoot ahead one, here's a new group shot that we took right after the acquisition of KK Bold. So just a snapshot of all of our old faces and new faces here. We're headquartered in Bismarck, but we do have staff across the country in Idaho, Texas, Arizona, Minnesota, Montana, and South Dakota as well. And here's just a quick glance. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but just a quick glance of our org chart. And, you know, certainly, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about the acquisition, but certainly deeper in a lot of our divisions.
So
did we miss our capabilities?
Oh yeah, it went one too far. My apologies.
Yeah, you're going too fast. So we are a full service agency. We offer creative and design, which encompasses, you know, complete campaign development, including all forms of creative, including video, digital ads, print, photography, out of home, collateral pieces, just to name a few. We do offer branding services, for example, language development, brand positioning, material development, logos, graphic standards, those types of things. Of course, we do traditional media buying as well as digital media buying and marketing. We do have a division called Strategic Engagement, which encompasses our social media and PR service lines. So that includes paid and organic social media, media relations, event planning, influencer marketing, those types of things. Website development, strategic planning, which includes business consulting, marketing strategy, SWOT analysis. Research, we do have a full research division and can execute email surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, focus groups, telephone surveys, interviews, just to name a few there. And then lastly, our public affairs division, they really lead up all of our advocacy efforts, lobbying, and government affairs as well.
Thanks.
All right, so Kyle, I will turn it over to you just to give a little more detail on the acquisition of KK Bold earlier this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a top-down history of you know, our acquisition of KK Bold. So as Gwen had mentioned, Odney started in 1985. I believe KK Bold started maybe a year or two after, in 86 or 87. So they've been a player in the advertising agency space in Bismarck and, you know, the state of North Dakota for almost as long as as Odney has. And so when the four of us, Don and Shane and Gwen and myself, purchased the agency from longtime owner Patrick Finken and Mike Bruner, we had a really big goal of growing the business. And so obviously if you're in business, like many of you are, growth is important for longevity and just kind of continued success. So we had looked at the opportunity of, okay, how do we define Odney? How do we kind of put our own stamp on an agency that has been around for 30, at that point, 34 years. But how do we make it different? How do we make it fresh and new? And so as we were talking about business growth, this opportunity with KK Bold presented itself here in late 2022. The conversation kind of started early 2023. So longtime agency owner there was looking to retire, didn't necessarily have a succession plan that he was kind of working towards. And so we started that conversation with them. So obviously, for us to say, okay, we could go after new business, which we always do, but acquiring a company is kind of a quicker way of doing some of that. And then some other things that led to that is that some of the clients that they had really complemented the spaces and verticals that we work in as an agency. So we've got a lot of history with travel and tourism industry, travel destination work. And so a lot of their clients being travel destinations like the North Dakota State Fair. At the time they had Medora, Who's Fest, casinos, things like that really played well into the knowledge that we had as an organization. And so we just saw it as a pretty good fit with clients, but also they had some staff that are turning out now to be a very good fit here at Odney. It just adds more people to our creative team, more to the web team, the account services team, just kind of all around. So by acquiring them, we not only brought on clients, but we brought on some other talent that we probably wouldn't have had access to. So now we've grown to about 43 full-time employees as of today. Another thing we're seeing, with the pandemic of 2020, right, which, hopefully none of us have to go through again. But what that also brought was the opportunity to add staff, and that we're not necessarily in an office setting. So you can get really good talented staff that are working remotely, which is a benefit to everybody. But in our industry, also brought on added competition. So just in his example, the state of North Dakota has a vendor pool of pre-approved marketing agencies that state agencies can pick from to do work with. And there are 8 agencies that are approved within this vendor pool, and 3 of the 8 are non-North Dakota companies. So, there's people that are, other agencies coming within the state of North Dakota. But most recently, we responded to an RFP that we were awarded, and there was 6 respondents to it, and only 2 were North Dakota companies. The other 4 were from Minnesota, South Dakota, and beyond. There was a Kansas City, Missouri company that responded. So at the same time, I say that, we're looking to grow regionally as well, not just within the state of North Dakota. But which I think got Jill's attention is when we put out a press release that Odney was acquiring KK Bold, we coupled that with, hey, by the way, we're also rebranding. Rebranding a company, we're not a Fortune 500 company, so it probably doesn't get a lot of eyes on it. So coupling the rebrand at the same time of making the announcement of the acquisition, were all purposely done to get more attention, get more buzz, more media attention around the state. So that's kind of how that conversation happened. But first and foremost, it was for business growth and to increase the amount of staff that we have, because adding business, you can only accommodate that by having the right amount of staff as well. So we're very happy we were able to do that. We are 3 months down the road. I think for Gwen and I, we can honestly say it was certainly our first acquisition as business owners. It just didn't come without its growing pains, but overall, very happy with how it's turned out. Clients are gelling very well, and the new staff are fitting in very well. So anything else that, Gwen, that I missed that you might want to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I think you kind of covered it. It was such a great opportunity to tap into the talent at KK Bold in a lot of our divisions, and also gives new perspective, and especially creatively or in writing, just gives some of our existing clients new eyeballs, new thinking. So it's been fun to kind of cross pollinate clients. amongst new staff, and, you know, we're all suffering from finding good people and workforce shortages here. So, for us, that was a really, you know, great, piece of the acquisition in addition to the clients.
Just a quick glimpse at some of the clients that we do work with. Not that this is everybody, but Find the Good Life. So that is a North Dakota Department of Commerce initiative for workforce talent recruitment and retention. So bringing individuals from outside of North Dakota, getting them to move to North Dakota to plant roots, accept a job, you know, start a career, continue their career. That really dovetails off the work that our agency has done over the last 23 years with the Department of Commerce and the Tourism Division. So the Good Life campaign started in 2014. We developed that campaign for the Department of Commerce. We were just re-awarded that work here within the last couple of months, or the last month actually. But really knowing that to get people to move to North Dakota, they probably need to become a visitor first. They're not just going to be like, hey, let's move to North Dakota because they've got a lot of jobs in tech, right? They're going to have to visit here, fall in love with the state, fall in love with the people and who we are before. So that really dovetails off the work we're doing there. Roll Call is one of the clients that Gwen works with that directly ties to the Good Life campaign, and just kind of how connections work out. You know, we're all in the communications industry, and so it's great to be knowledgeable, but it's good to know the right people. So Roll Call has put us in front of Toledo, Ohio, and Cleveland. So we're able to work with those two cities and organizations on some of their workforce and retention work as well, on a very city level. So they're more
So really very similar to the Minot Wayfinders. I work with Kelly and team to get that one launched. Is actually our first Wayfinder site with Roll Call. So doing something a little bit along the same lines with Toledo and Cleveland, if you guys are familiar with the Minot Wayfinders, which I'm sure you are.
Yeah. And then North Dakota State Fair, which everybody knows what that organization is, who they are, what they do. Prairie Lakes Healthcare System is a client of ours out of South Dakota, doing really great things down there, competing up against Sanford Health. So they're a great, fun client that we get to work with. Uber, so everybody would be familiar with them. So our public affairs division has a large list of clients, but Uber is one that everybody knows that we get to work with, and we lobby for them in the state of North Dakota. So kind of how they dovetail into work we do is with the North Dakota Department of Transportation, the traffic safety work that we do. So buckling up, don't be a distracted driver, don't text and drive, things like that. They were trying to pass a primary seatbelt law in the last session where so if a police officer saw you driving not wearing a seatbelt, it becomes a primary offense versus, hey, you were speeding. Oh, they can't give you a ticket unless they pull you over for something else. So that was going through the legislature for vote. Uber had some other initiatives they were working on and jumped on board and thought that was a great idea as well. So got to work with them. And then North Dakota Petroleum Foundation. So that obviously is a group of companies together pushing the messaging about the importance of the oil and gas industry in North Dakota that we do work with. First Western Bank and Trust is one of our longest standing clients. Started in Minot, but is now in Minot, Bismarck, Fargo, Sioux Falls, Alexandria, Minnesota, Brainerd, Minnesota, Eden Prairie. So as they grow, it's been pretty great. And then Minot, Gwen had mentioned the Wayfinders and kind of workforce recruitment. And then the North Dakota Lottery is another one of our clients that we get to work with because of our acquisition and of the KK Bold agency as well. And it's great to see clients, but kind of fun to see creative work. Just a little bit of a feature here. So on the left-hand side, the We Can Do This campaign. So we were one of the agencies that were hired. So there was a company, an agency out of DC called FMG, Forest Marsh Group. They received the COVID vaccination campaign efforts in 2021 through 2023 here. And so that was a very large national contract. And as they were working to promote and get out the word of, hey, getting a vaccine is good for you, this is why you should do it, promoting vaccines, just going to be blunt with the people on the call, but they had realized that conservative states were lacking in COVID vaccinations. And so they were looking for an agency to help them. And knowing that they kind of came across us and the work that we've done in the health space, and knowing that we are in one of the more conservative states in the nation, tapped into us. And so we were able to work with them for the last couple of years, promoting COVID vaccinations and boosters to conservative audiences around the country. And so it's just a quick sample of some of the work that was done. We were featured in People magazine. We had a bunch of events and partnerships with NASCAR throughout the country. So a lot of fun work we were able to do there, and just on a very national scale, which is really kind of fun. Some logo work on the top that Mike Bruner, one of our graphic designers and previous agency partners, did. Those were all featured in a publication, I believe, called Logo Lounge. So some award work that he did. And then you can just see here some Bismarck-Mandan Symphony Orchestra, some United Way work, Prairie Nights Casino, the State Fair. Down below in the right-hand corner, that is a big art installation piece in downtown Minot. That was a part of a bigger effort that we did in the Minot community. And then some work here. So in the middle on the phone is some Cleveland work that was done, some vehicle wraps, Bismarck Symphony, and Carlson work. And then in the upper right-hand corner, this is the first time I've actually seen this, which is kind of fun. You'd think I'd see everything that went out of here, but I sometimes don't. But we do have a contract with the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction. And so we do some work for them continuously throughout the year. And so this was kind of harvest of the month work that was done. And so promoting, carrots. And I don't necessarily know if this was for the food service industry for public instruction or what it was, but it just caught my eye and I thought it was kind of fun.
So this one is kind of interesting because it targets kindergartners through senior year. So if you want a creative challenge, it's trying to come up with something visually that is going to appeal to a kindergartner and also a senior. I have a senior in high school, so I could, imagine the challenges that our team had. So they are actually promoting food, just food education at all of the public schools. So you'll see these collateral pieces every month for the coming year. But that was the team's challenge in this one, is just messaging and imagery that appealed to a very, very wide audience.
Yeah. Hey, got me interested. So apparently it did its job. All right. So opportunities. So what we see as an agency and what we're seeing as an agency of trends and opportunities in the communication space really kind of fall into three areas. So obviously we offer a wide variety of communications tools and opportunities for our clients. But these would be kind of the main three that we're seeing. So number one, public relations. So we have a team of strategic engagement team that includes all things earned media, paid and organic digital media, social media. But really where PR gets a little bit tricky is you have to write in a way that gets the attention of the end user. And so we have a lot of clients. There's one that's coming to mind specifically that is like, hey, we don't need to raise awareness of who we are, right? People know we're here. However, you do need to tell the goodwill and the good stories about what you are doing and what this client is doing specifically. So public relations is becoming more and more important in the marketing space. Specifically, people they can tell when it's forced. They can tell when it's a paid opportunity. They can tell when it's pay to play. So if you can get media outlets, whether it's print vendors, print outlets, newspapers, magazine publications, radio stations, television stations, right? You can pay to play in all of those spaces, and they all have their place 100%. But if you can tell your brand story and you can tell your story of your company and the great good you're doing, and get the media to pick it up and not charge you for it, it's invaluable. And one of the tools we use here at Odney is called, it's Clear, but it's a part of Meltwater. So we use Meltwater as a tool, and within that, so it's Meltwater, sorry, Clear is another end of it.
Yeah.
but meltwater. And so if we're putting out public relations efforts on our clients' behalf, it keeps track of who it's sent to, who's picking it up, where it's been published, how many eyeballs saw it, and kind of gives an estimated value of that effort. And so that's really important for us to tell our clients that, yes, you're paying us to do this on your behalf. But it was also seen by an estimated amount of people, and it had a value of X. And so really important. If your business has the opportunity, certainly look into public relations efforts, because it is upfront work, but it's extremely rewarding when you can see it being picked up by the media. And it's like, hey, like all my work did that. And if you're on a feature on a cover story or whatever it might be, it's pretty great to see that happening. And then moving into the digital and social space. So we treat them separately. So the strategic engagement team handles all things organic and paid social media. And then the digital team handles all things non-social media. So our digital team is not working in Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. They're buying specifically audiences, basically. But they do work very well together. So for an example, if you are say you're a car dealership, and you want to target individuals who could potentially be customers, you could go after those people. Just say, hey, we want to go after individuals 18 plus in a market. But where you can really drill down is you can look at contextual targeting. So basically, we can target individuals that are in the market because they're actively searching for automobiles, shopping for cars. So they're like intended individuals. You can get even deeper. We're doing a campaign right now for a company that is promoting Medicare sign up. So Medicare signups go October 1 through December 15th. And they're in North Dakota and South Dakota. So our digital team was able to use our tools to get a list of individuals who are 65 plus within the state of North Dakota and the state of South Dakota. We get that information, we get names, we get physical addresses, we get emails. We can then use all of that data imported to the back of our digital and social media tools. And so like digital, we use Simplify for a lot of our digital efforts. We can input all of that data and only serve digital advertising to that list of about 252,000 people. We can also take that list and we can input it in the back end of social channels like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And so instead of placing ads there saying we just want to hit everybody that's on Facebook or visiting YouTube, we can actually input that data. So if they match up with a user, we're only serving ads to that smaller group of individuals 65 plus. And then the importance of getting a physical address. So if the client wants to use it for direct mail purposes, hit them with a multimedia message, they can. But kind of scary is that we can take those physical addresses, put them into the back end of the digital platforms that we use and geo-target those homes. So if you were on that list and you fell into our audience and we geo-targeted your home, anything in your home that's connected to the internet or a location service like a smartphone, television that's maybe streaming Hulu or Peacock or any kind of streaming service, we can serve ads to you because we had your address and the devices in your home were connected to the internet. And so it gets very kind of Big Brother-ish, but it's kind of telling us that the more data you have, the more targeted and narrow you can get when reaching a specific audience. And then Gwen brought this up to me, which is a very good point in bringing all of these efforts full circle, is that everything you're doing is most likely leading them back to a website, or else it should be. So making sure that your website is up to date. There's so many clients that come to us that want to do some efforts. For example, the one I just talked about for Medicare is, we can do all of these great things for you, but if the user experience at the website isn't there, it's not really going to do you any good. So because the insurance industry has so many rules and regulations, they can't just start calling people. They have to actually reach out to them. So they were like, well, we want to get them to our website. Okay, well, what do you want to do after that? Well, have them search to give us, a phone call. Well, that is all great, but let's get them to a landing page that tells them who you are, what you offer, why you've reached out to them or contacted them, and then give them a form to fill out that has name, address, phone number, email. So now you've got that lead. And so it's always just making sure what is on your website is relevant. If you're doing any type of specific advertising for any particular effort, try not to lead them just to the homepage and make them find the information. Get them directly to a landing page that tells them what they want to do. So like if it's a travel and tourism vertical, if we're promoting outdoor recreation to an audience, don't just take them to the homepage of your local CVB, send them to a page that talks about all of the great outdoor recreation opportunities that they might be able to find, whether it's trails or hunting and fishing or kayaking or boating or whatever that might be. Give them the information up front. Don't make them search for it.
Yep, and I would just add to that, make sure you're updating your website, things are current, it's, you know, responsive. Some of these things seem like they're, you know, we recognize that as a group that we need to be doing that, but you know, we help a lot of partners that just need a refresh or just updating content and making it seem relevant and fresh. So Kyle's right. All of these efforts, like if you can get them to the 1 yard line and you fumble on the website, you've lost those people. So, and I'm not a sports person, so I don't know really why I just said that, but no, it's just a really important piece. So don't forget your websites.
Yep. And then lastly, with anything you're doing, just, you know, be authentic. People can tell when it's being forced, if it's being too salesy, you know, if you don't mean it, right? So user-generated content is huge right now. A lot of like specific on the website for the travel and tourism vertical, there are partners that you can work with. So as you have visitors coming to your destinations, right? Like they're taking photos, they're posting on their own social channels. There are services you can use that tap into that. So, you know, we can tell you how great it is to live in North Dakota or visit North Dakota or visit our communities. But if you've got people that are actually visiting and posting about it, that's what gets people engaged, gets people excited. So user-generated content is big right now. If you can do it, messaging brief and to the point. I mean, once you've got them and you talk to them, they don't want to necessarily always have to read pages and pages of information. In your advertising efforts, again, be short and to the point. And then once you get them to the website, then give them the long form, give them the more information to learn more. And then lastly, just knowing your audience and delivery channel. So if you're building out a marketing plan, that is a multi-channel plan that might include broadcast television, newspaper, billboard, social media advertising. Realize that the creative for each of those, obviously from video to print, is much different. But specifically when it comes to social media channels, it's much different from Facebook than it is to Instagram and what it is from TikTok to Snapchat. And so if you're advertising video on broadcast television, you can't just say, let's format it to the size it needs to be on some of those other channels like TikTok or Snapchat, because it's not going to perform and it's not going to work. And then when it comes to like digital advertising, just know that, you know, when you're evaluating it, if you're running display ads or native advertising, which is more of a long form piece, that is to get people to go to your website and visit more. But if you're running video ads or audio, that's more awareness tactics. So you're not going to see a large amount of click through from video and audio as you are some of the other things. And so just knowing what your overall goal is, who you're talking to, and that all creative isn't equal across all platforms. So just because a message is working on print doesn't mean it's going to work on social, because people are obviously scrolling and they just don't take a whole lot of time for that. So yeah, just being very cognizant of those three things up front would, in our opinion, leads to better success at the end of any campaign, right? So but yeah, just overall being authentic, being yourself. Don't be who you're not. At the end of the day, you know, you might want to grow your business, which most people do, but you're not going to be the right fit for everybody. But just make sure you're being the right fit for those that need your services or are looking for your services as well. So Sorry, I had a fruit fly in here from a plant, and I noticed I just swiped over my face. That was attractive. So yeah, so that's all we've got for you guys on the call, but would certainly welcome any questions that you might have that, we're here to answer.
If anyone has any questions, you can type them into the chat or raise your hand, or you should be able to just become live. I think the way this is set up, you should be able to talk.
And I'll stop sharing my screen as well so we can see everybody here as well.
I'm Jenna. I work with the University of North Dakota. But how do you see AI playing a difference in the role the work you're doing? Is it a positive? Is it a competitor? How do you see that falling in there? I'm hearing a lot about AI and communication.
Yeah, so I certainly think as a competitor, no. We see it as an opportunity for us as an agency, but also for individual marketers, right? So if, copywriters, right away, our copywriting team is like, man, are we going to have a job? Well, you're absolutely going to have a job. This AI really, if they're really struggling with something, it kind of maybe gets them started down a path if they need to. But when you have relationships with clients or relationships with your brand, or if you're a business owner, you can put like, hey, I want AI to spit out an article or headlines about my cleaning company or my cleaning business, right? But they don't know the nuances of the market. They don't know the nuances of your consumers. So it could sound great up front, but it still takes that personal touch to review it, make tweaks, make edits, because it's not, it's not a perfect storm. So we don't see it as taking over anybody's job. We see it more as a tool, right? And so our creative team is always researching, looking at AI to see how it can help benefit us. But to be honest, if you are a one-man show in your own marketing department for your own business, is an extremely effective tool, because you might not be, a copywriter by trade, but you need to get something out. And it really helps you get the jump start. But I would just say, I wouldn't necessarily just copy and paste what it puts out there. I would use it as a starting point to then add your personal touch to it for your business or your market or whatever that may be.
Yep, no, I'd agree with that too. And we've seen, there's so many different types of AI that can help, really foster ideas for art and design, as well as, writing content for your website. I think from what we've seen, it has helped with some efficiency, because there are pieces you can definitely use AI for, and it's great. But yeah, like Kyle said, the tone, your client's voice, and just some of those little things that still need that human element. I personally don't feel like with Kyle it's going to replace anybody, but it certainly can help make our work in ways more efficient. You can also use, from the agency side, there's ability to do spec creative to, if we're responding to a request for a proposal and we've only got a couple days, it can help generate creative that we might showcase as a starting point if we're trying to get our point across on how something might look for a new client, which has been interesting. So I do think that there's a lot of positives with it. I know there's 50-50 probably with a lot of people, but we've seen a lot of really good things come out of AI.
I have a question in regards to the acquisition. Did you try to send out a press release, or I know you were saying that there's different ways to do that, to try to get the media to pick up your announcement without having to pay to play? Did you guys do that for your acquisition? And then also, what did you do with your social media for your acquisition?
Yeah, so we did send out press news releases and press releases about the acquisition, and because we're like, do we send out one about the acquisition and then one about the rebrand? And we're like, well, nobody's going to care that we rebranded and changed our logo and talking on how we talk about ourselves as an agency, right? So we coupled that with the bigger news. So yes, we did send out a press release statewide, North Dakota, South Dakota, and then within the region. We did get some pickup and some play from the Minot market, the Bismarck markets, Prairie Business reached out and we got a couple comments. So, we did get some play on that. It was, beneficial, and in the end, it wasn't a huge amount, but it did get some. And then how it played over in social media is we had the full suite of assets that we needed to upgrade or update all of our social channels ready to go. So when we said, hey, this is going out, all of our social channels were switched immediately. As far as a branding standpoint, when it came from the acquisition merger of those social media accounts, I believe, and don't quote me on this because I'm not a part of our strategic engagement team, but I believe what they did is they were trying to merge as much as they can from the business side for business accounts for clients, because that was a huge deal, right? We had to merge them into one from an operational standpoint for business accounts, but then just the organic facing of us as an agency, we shut down the KK Bold accounts and just merged everything we could under our umbrella. So our acquisition was a total purchase of the company and not just the clients. So we're in the process of phasing that out. So everything we do is under the Odney name and on the Odney umbrella. And we are phasing out the KK Bold name and that business as an entity here by the end of the year. But just some things that couldn't be done, like turning the lights off day one.
And then I think too, just to add, making sure that if anybody, if existing clients of KK Bold or anyone was searching for them, that it redirected to our new website, and, just try to cover our bases to make sure that if somebody was looking for anyone there for more information, that they had that at their fingertips and they knew to be directed towards us.
And then I'm sure other people have questions, but I have just one more for the both of you. At the beginning, you were talking about you learned a lot through the acquisition and all of that. What's one surprising communications related or public relations related thing that you've learned throughout this that you weren't anticipating?
Yeah, I think for me, it was we feel like, we should all be the best at communicating, right? We're in that industry. But just the difference in work style from our agency to their agency when we merged is that we're all doing the same work, we're all working for similar clients, but just the style in which they were operating or communicating with each other was so different. And I think it's just a cultural difference at that point. Like at Odney, we're very big on culture and big on if you're in the office, like get out of your office, go talk to somebody, like that human interaction, right? And one of the things that they were very accustomed to was just Teams chatting or, doing chats back and forth, even though they were all in the same office. So I would say just the biggest part is not assuming that everybody's communication style is the same, even though you're doing the same work. So for me, that was the biggest hurdle of just getting people that were now coming over to Odney to, embrace the culture, embrace who we are as a company, and just kind of being more cohesive on that. And at the end of the day, it's about doing the work that matters for the client, number one, as a business. But, we spend a lot of time within our four walls with these people. I see Gwen and other staff members more frequently than I probably see my wife and children on a weekly basis because we're here. So just building that culture and being happy when you're here is extremely important. So for me, that was the biggest thing. There were obviously hiccups with clients, things like that, but as an organization, that would be my biggest surprise, was just how different things were.
And I think too, from a timeline perspective, we started the process in January, closed at the end of June. I think all looking back, we would have probably been more efficient with time, and maybe, it's when you go through this process and you we told staff on both sides in early April, well, a lot of questions and uncertainty can formulate, for 3 months. So looking back, it would have, I hate to put people in a position where they're questioning, but when there are new people coming over or the new people not knowing how they'll integrate, just, they knew for a long time. And if I could have reduced any anxiety by cutting that time shorter, I would have just done that for people, because I felt like we were being conservative with the timeline to make sure that we did everything right. But I think just looking back, we could have tightened that up just to relieve some anxiety, I think, with people. We also did send out, now that it's been a few months, we did send out surveys to new clients, just making sure, you know, how did the transition go? How are you seeing service? So just closing that client loop, I think, has been really important too, and just making sure if there are any issues we're unaware of, that we can address those right away. So that's one piece kind of after the fact that we added as well. Any other questions?
This is Jill, and I do have a question for you, Jill from Minot. You had talked about remote work and going to quite a bit of remote work. So I'm wondering how that works for you in terms of keeping some connectedness and keeping those creative juices flowing between your different staff, especially when you're bringing in staff from a different agency, from KK Bold. Are some of those people remote work? How do you merge everything together?
So we've got a few ways in which we do that. Every department in our agency has a weekly meeting that is on Teams where we talk through any issues, we're refreshing what our goals are for the quarter. So that happens with the creative department, the media department, and really would cover anyone that would be remote. We make sure that everybody's tied into all of our regular quarterly meetings and annual meetings. We try to get everybody back in person. Those are a couple ways. And then, you know, we also and we're about to implement it. We had it with a lot of the account staff that works remote, where we had just a standing, we call it happy hour. It doesn't necessarily mean we're having a drink or anything like that, but it's just hey, here's a link to the account staff team, so that those that are in Fargo or South Dakota or Minot, we can just have some face-to-face time that kind of makes up for some of that in-office time, like I was talking about when you run down to somebody's office. We're actually going to open that up staff-wide. So for any remote employees, we're just going to have a Thursday afternoon meeting, which there's no agenda other than just saying hi and checking in and you know, making sure that we don't forget about the folks that are remote.
Yeah, and don't kid yourself. We do grab drinks because a happy hour is a happy hour. So it's typically, it's always been, so we're going to be setting it up. It's going to be 4:30 on every Thursday, and it's company wide. So not just, it's everybody in the office, it's everybody remote. If you can join. Let's like bring your children on camera, bring your pets, do whatever. It's just, you know, a time to not be worried about work, connect with your coworkers. And Gwen was talking about quarterly meetings, and we have a quarterly meeting today. So we 4 times a year we have those meetings. 2 of them are large ones where we do our best to require everybody to attend in person, because then we do staff, you know, events after, whether it's a party or holiday party, a dinner or whatever it might be, twice a year. And then today's is those that can be here. So like some of our staff from Minot or Fargo are in the office today. Those that are, you know, in South Dakota or Montana or Texas, obviously are via Teams, and so then they join in. So we have a culture club. If we're doing like, I can't, like one day it was, so like the other day, if it was like National Pasta Day, you know, we might cater in lunch that's pasta for everybody, and then send everybody, you know, a $20 gift card to a pasta restaurant in their city, so that they're a part of it, you know, so that it's like, oh, I missed out on the fun of the office, but no, we want to make sure that you can partake as well, and making them feel welcome. So everything we're doing here, we try to spread out as much as we can, within reason, to all the remote employees as well.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't see any other questions. Is there anybody else who wants to get in a last word? No, and there's nothing in the chat. So we want to say thank you to Kyle and Gwen for sharing your story. It's been really good to have you here, and it's been interesting to hear about the merger and just about what you're doing.
We appreciate the opportunity of getting to talk to all of you. And if there's any questions, and Jill's got our information, if you want to reach out to us directly and individually, absolutely feel free to do so.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Yep.